of Esau being taken down. You was going to be taken down with your enemies. Okay, like the scripture says, if hand join hand in hand, the wicked shall not go together unpunished. So you got to where you got certain cats out there. You tell them they're the Israelites, and you tell them the judgment of Esau. They want to go hand in hand with the devil into his captivity. After they already served captivity and slavery underneath Esau, they want to go serve another slavery with Esau. Okay, they've served slavery underneath Esau. Now they want to stay slavery with Esau. Don't you see that the scripture says that there's a heavy judgment that's going to come upon this person? And this is what this whole thing of endurance is all about. Because if you enjoy all of these things, you was going to see these things, you're going to take pleasure in these things, and you was going to enjoy the earth. So let me just finish this and we go back onto the main point of the sermon, which was the thing of endurance. Okay? So this is the book of Isaiah, the 14th chapter, and this is the 12th verse. It says, how that fallen from heaven, or Lucifer, son of the morning, how that cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations. And they weakened the nations by way of economic sanctions. They weakened the nations by way of military interventions. Okay, they done bombed these different countries, and they had it to where these nations were underneath them. Okay, check out how the whole geopolitical scope has been mapped out. Okay, this whole thing has been scoped out to where the advantage goes on to particular nations, man. Okay, you look at how things are priced. Okay, when it's made out there within these Middle Eastern countries, okay, it's made real cheap. But when it's sold out there within the Western world, it's sold at a massive profit. That's because what? The advantage goes on to Esau. Okay. And the advantage going on to Esau, they had it to where these nations have become weak economically, okay, military-wise, okay? They did weaken the nation, but see, the Most High was watching all of that, and a great judgment was going before Esau for doing all of these things, man, okay? It says, for thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, and I'll exalt my throne above the stars of the Most High. So they exalted themselves above us, man. They exalted themselves above the Most High. They said within their mind there was the Most High, okay? They said it within their hearts that the Most High. But see, what does the scripture say as it pertains to pride? The scripture says that pride goes before a fall. Okay? The scripture says that what? Before a fall is pride. Pretty much when a man exalts himself with pride, okay, that's when he was gonna fall, man. Okay? And this man has been proud for a long time. He said through his inventions he's done this, and the Most High doesn't exist, and they've proven these different theories and all of this BS. But the fact of the matter is, the scripture says, the fool saith that there is no God. Okay? And it takes an even bigger fool to say that there is no God, and that fool is God himself. And that goes back onto Esau. Esau thinks he's God. He's the Most High. Okay? Because the Most High gave him technology for to dissect a cell, so he thinks now he's God. Okay, when you go into the complexities of a single-celled organism, man, that's way more complex than the so-called artificial intelligent computers, man. Okay, when you go into the complexities of what the Most High has done and how it really is by design, not by some evolution, you find out that, man, there had to be a God, man, just by the simple mechanics of how life works. Okay. So let's go back onto the scriptures now. It says here, within the book of Isaiah, the 14th chapter, and this is the 13th verse. It says, thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I'll exalt my throne above the stars of the Most High, the stars of Yahweh. I'll sit amongst the mount of the congregation on the sides of the north. I'll ascend into the heights of heaven. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I'll be like the Most High. Okay? So it says here, yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. And they that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee. So when this thing of being brought down to the sides of the pit, you want to be partaking of that, man. You don't want to be a partaker of the destruction of Esau. Okay, you don't want to be destroyed when Esau is destroyed, man. Okay, because if you have it to where you okay there, mate?
You alright, brother?
Yeah. Where you from?
I'm part Nicaraguan.
You what?
Part Nicaraguan. You're like 12 tribes of Israel.
Yeah. I'm saying, where are you from? Where are you guys from? What country are you from?
He's Brazilian. I'm Nicaraguan.
Where's that? Where's
Central America.
Oh, Central America. Okay,
yeah.
So you could be from one of these tribes. Does your family believe in the Bible?
Yeah, man.
Okay, so what do you think the Bible is all about?
Well, I've always been like, a Catholic.
Yeah.
And for me, like, the Catholic Church is, simply like, the church that has that apostolic succession,
right.
Like every single priest there, you get back to Jesus.
That's not necessarily true. That's not true.
Right,
That's not true. But I'm saying, what do you guys believe about the scriptures? What do you think the scripture? What does the Bible mean to you as an individual?
Well, it carries a lot of meaning for me. Like I try to.
Yeah. What does it mean to you? What is it good news? Is it bad news?
Definitely good news.
Okay. In what sense?
In what sense? Well, like essentially, it's simply that it is the good news.
Right.
By,
Okay.
Christ to deliver to
Right.
the
So
people, and especially
they called it good news, hence the gospel. Okay. Pretty much because contained within these scriptures was the hope. Okay. Now, when you're talking about hope in the nation, then you have to understand, before this is a book about hope, this is also a political book. Okay, it's a rebellious book.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a book about politics. So when they was talking about the gospel, they was talking about how they was going to transition from being subjects as a vassal state. Remember I said it's a political book before anything. They was vassals underneath the Roman Empire. So the hope was that they was going to be an autonomous state again. Okay, autonomy meaning that they wasn't going to be subjugated underneath the Romans. Okay, so that's the first instance of hope. The second instance of hope was that what? That when kingdom of heaven was going to be set up, they was going to be what? They was going to be partaking in that. Now, I'm going to ask you what the kingdom of heaven is, and you're going to explain to me what the kingdom of heaven is, right?
Right. Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah.
So I guess the kingdom of heaven is after I guess after the apocalypse happens, and it's
Right. So what do you guys think the apocalypse is?
I don't know. That's a very complicated theological question. Like,
No, it's not that complicated when you read the Bible.
some people, well, no, but there's different types. Some people say that it's already happened, and that the Huns invading Europe was essentially the apocalypse. It was an account of that.
Right,
Other
so I'm
people
gonna-
say
I'm gonna-
it's yet to happen.
Right, I'm going to stop you there. I'm going to break it down for you. Okay, and I'll quote the relevant scriptures, and I'll point to the relevant places within the scriptures, and some of them I'll read for you. Now, when you have an apocalyptic situation, okay, and you say within this apocalyptic situation, the Messiah has to be there. That's an important part of the apocalypse, that you was going to be delivered from the apocalyptic situation. When does that happen within the history?
I don't think you can, but
That hasn't happened within the history, has it?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about a future scenario, okay, that's going to happen within the future, where a Messiah individual is going to come and deliver from a apocalyptic situation. Now, when you go into the scriptures and understand what this was all talking about, you find out this is talking about the World War III that's about to play out between America and Russia. Okay, that's spoken about within the book of Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, where the Messiah was going to put hooks within the jaws of Russia, which is known as Magog within the scriptures, because where Russia is situated right now is where in the land of Magog. Magog being one of the descendants of Japheth, I think, or one of the brothers of Japheth, I think. But those are the nations that were 18, because everybody goes back onto 18 nations within the Bible. So this person, they go back to a particular nation. You people go back onto a particular nation within the 18 nations of the world. Now, out of those 18 nations, there's one tribe. Okay, not one tribe, but one tribe or one nation that the Lord deals with, which is the nation of Israel. And within that nation of Israel is 12 tribes. Does that make sense? So everybody goes back onto one of these 18 nations. One of those was Magog. Magog had their own land, just like how Israel had their own land. Now the Russians went up into there, and when you read that scripture, it says the Lord was going to drag Magog, and Magog was going to have war against the existence of Babylon, and Babylon was going to be destroyed. Okay. Now when you go into the Isaiah the 13th chapter, here's where it gets more apocalyptic. Okay, when you read about Babylon within the book of Isaiah, the 13th chapter, it says the Most High was going to raise up. Now, sometimes you might have it to where Magog is mentioned. Sometimes you might have it to where the Medes was going to come up against the Babylonians. But when you put those things into perspective and you see what it's talking about, you find out it's talking about the times now. Now, let's go back into history. Who took down the Babylonians?
Was it the Assyrians?
No, the Syrians were predecessors to the Babylonians.
Sorry, go right this human.
Right, that's okay. The Medo-Persians took down the Babylonians.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you read Isaiah the 13th chapter, it was written 200 years before the Babylonians had even been a power. They wasn't even a regional power yet. Okay, but when they rose to in 200 years and they was taken down by the Medo-Persians, the whole land of Babylon was never completely eradicated, because the Medo-Persians then had Babylon as a vassal state. And then the Greeks, which took down the Medo-Persians, had Babylon as a vassal state. That is to say what? Babylon still existed. But when you read Isaiah the 13th chapter, it tells you Babylon was never going to be inhabited ever again. Post-apocalyptic situation, right? So when you apply what's known as spiritual intuition, and you apply scriptures where it's talking about Babylon within the book of Revelations, then you find out that Babylon is twofold. You had a Babylon of history, and you had a Babylon of the future. So these Medo-Persians is going to come down and take the Babylon of today, of which I'm going to ask you, what's Babylon of today? And I'll give you a clue. Babylon means land of confusion.
Just society in general?
Nope. The scriptures talk about mystery Babylon. Revelations, the 17th chapter, talks about mystery Babylon, meaning it goes deeper than that. Okay, it goes deeper than that, because mystery Babylon was a land of confusion that was going to exist now. Revelations, the 17th chapter, a land of confusion that is going to exist now, and it was going to rule the other nations. Okay, what country does that? America. Good. Okay, so let's prove that. Okay, Revelations, the 18th chapter. Okay, it's going to all make sense in a second. Revelations, the 18th chapter. All right, and this is excuse me, my hands are a little bit cold. Revelations 18:1, it says, and after this I saw another angel having great power, and the earth was lit with his glory. It says, he cried mightily with a strong voice, Babylon is fallen, and it's fallen. But wait, hold on a minute. This is during the Greco-Roman Empire. This is during the Roman Empire that John the Revelator is talking about Babylon, which is destroyed during the which was destroyed by the Medo-Persians 2 empires ago. So this is going to be talking about the future, right? Because that's why it was known as John the Revelator. And you go back a chapter, it says that what? This is mystery Babylon. Okay, so this is talking about a future Babylon, right? Now let's see what this Babylon was going to, how it was going to rule. It says, and it's become the habitation of devils, and a hold of every foul spirit, and cage of every unclean bird. All the nations have drank of the wrath of her fornications, ideas. Okay, what you know as philosophies. Okay, all of these philosophies that everybody holds themselves underneath come from America. Suits, okay, wearing a suit and as a means of business is an American idea. Okay, Costa Coffee is an American idea. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, and it says, and all the nations have drank of the wine of her fornications, and the kings of the earth have committed fornications with her, and waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Now, what's that talking about? That's talking about economic ties, treaties, and how people come together to make business. Where do they make business? Where is the World Trade Center?
It's in New York.
Okay, what's known as the world reserve currency?
The US dollar.
The US dollar. So Babylon has to be America. Okay, now you're not gonna open the Bible and say, oh, America is Babylon. You have to figure out these mysteries. Okay, and one of the other mysteries, one of the other clues in figuring out that Babylon is America is Revelations, the 17th chapter, which I won't read, but I'll describe what it says because it's better illustrated in this image. It says that what? It says that this was gonna be and I'll show you the judgment of the great whore, which is a woman, okay, that sitteth upon many waters, which is the people. Because when you read about people within the scriptures, sometimes it's talking about water as in water, but sometimes it's talking about people. Okay, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornications. We read about that within the Revelations, the 18th chapter. And he carried them away in the spirit, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, a red beast. This is where the Edomites come into play. Because when you go into you know who the Edomites are within the scriptures?
Yeah.
Right, the brother of Jacob.
Yeah. And
they became a nation of their own. Okay, this is the people that are in rulership right now, and that's the red beast that is talking about there. And that red beast is what? It represents the NATO. Okay, so you got to NATO in America. Okay, they're the ones that rule everything that happens on earth right now. Okay, that is to say, when something happens out there within Syria right now, what happens? NATO is deployed, right? But who says NATO is going to go out there? America. That's how things is done. Afghanistan war, Iraq war, sorry. Afghanistan, the thing out there with Gaddafi. NATO gets sent out there and is under the instructions of America. Because this is the woman, Babylon, okay, that sits upon the scarlet-colored beast, which is not a beast like you see an animal out there, but rather a nation of people, a group of people that was going to rule in a particular type of way, which was to devour people. So the Babylonians, they was likened, the original Babylonians, they was likened unto a beast themselves. So it was the Greeks, they was likened unto a beast, because what do beasts do? Beasts devour men. You go out there into the jungle and you go out face to face with a bear, what's the bear going to do? You're going to tear your face off. So when you're seeing this beast, you're seeing what? A means of destruction. And when you see what they've done to control this earth, they've destroyed people. Now we understand what Babylon is. Now we have to understand what this apocalyptic situation is going to be. Well, if the Lord's going to come back, Babylon has to be taken out, right? Because we read about the philosophies, the wickedness, and all of that. So this idea, this realm, or this country, this place known as Babylon has to be taken out. Now, when you go into the scripture in the book of Isaiah, the 13th chapter, it says that when Babylon is destroyed, it's never going to be inhabited ever again. What's that talking about? Talking about nuclear World War III.
I'd assume nuclear apocalypse.
Yeah, the nuclear World War III, because we know this is a country, but we also know this is a country that has a lot of enemies. You see what I'm saying? Now, the most important question becomes now, okay, so if a nuclear world war is going to play out, okay, and it's going to play out and it's going to happen to where there's not going to be anybody left out of America, and we know a nuclear world war really is going to devastate most of the world, who's going to be saved out of it? That becomes the most thing. Sorry?
People of the global south, right?
Nope. Who's going to be... Nuclear war is going to affect everybody.
Those who are chosen by God.
Right. Now, who's chosen by God?
Those who believe and those who...
Nope, that's incorrect. That's not biblical.
Those who practice the following.
That's not biblical.
Christ.
Not biblical.
Those who try to, like, follow... Well, no, but Jesus died for all our sins.
Nope.
And,
not
he said
everybody.
as long as we all accept him. I know, not everyone, but as long as we accept him.
Nope, not everybody.
Message,
The Lord only died for this people.
these people.
This is who the Lord came. That's who the Lord died for. So when we're talking about Babylon, we're talking about the destruction of Babylon and who the Lord was going to save whilst the destruction of Babylon was taking place, hence the good news. We're talking about the salvation of this people. Let's not forget, these people have been in slavery underneath every nation of the face of the earth. And more specifically, they've been in slavery underneath the Americans. Why would the Lord have then come back and save the same people that he had in slavery? Do you know what the mantra of slavery was? Manifest destiny, as in the scripture says. The scripture says that we were supposed to be doing this. So, but the scripture also says, as in manifest destiny, as it pertains to the rulership of this kingdom, the Edomites that rule this kingdom, it says within the Bible that they're going to go into captivity too. Within the book of Revelations, the 13th chapter and 9th verse, it says, he that leadeth into captivity must go into captivity. That's balance. Where did you say he was from?
Brazilian.
Brazilian. I think you're probably an Israelite. With your brother, your dad.
I know my mom.
Your mom, but I think you could be an Israelite yourself, man. Okay, you pay attention to the scriptures. Where's your father from? Italy. Okay, there you go. So you got a lot of Israelites that were dispersed during the Byzantine Empire amidst those like the Sicilians. A lot of those guys are really descendants of Israel. Okay, now that is to say, if I'm saying that this is and I'm gonna prove it to you within the scriptures in a second, that only the Israelites are gonna have salvation. I'll prove that to you. Okay, once I've proven that to you, you're gonna have to hope that your dad really goes back onto the man Israel, because I'll also show you within the scriptures what's gonna happen to the other nations. Okay, because they're gonna go into hardcore slavery underneath the Israelites. This thing, like I said, this is a political book before it's anything else. It's more about politics than anything else. That is to say, we're slavery, we're a vassal state underneath the Romans. Now we're superior to the Romans. What do you think is going to happen to the Romans? They're going to get in slavery. You see what I'm saying? That's just balance. So let's go to the scriptures now and prove that the Lord only came for the Israelites. And I'll prove to you, because you're going off of maybe John 3:16, right? Okay, I'll break that down to you. In fact, I'll go to that first. Now I'm gonna ask you a question. What does the word world mean?
Well.
Yep.
In what context? Like, like.
Good.
Like,
good. That's it. In what context? So what world was John talking about? What context of the world was John talking about?
Well, no, what I mean is, like, you're talking about geography, you're talking about.
That's what I'm saying. What was John saying? He says, this is what John 3:16 reads, right? It says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever shall believe on him shall be saved and have everlasting life. What does that scripture mean? What context is that word world in? Is that talking about the whole inhabited world? Is that talking about a sector? Is that talking about the football world, the basketball world, the baseball world?
Talking about the world of the Israelites, maybe?
Good. Okay, so we go to the book of Isaiah, the 5th chapter and the 17th verse. You're gonna find out that it's only talking about the world of the Israelites, and then I'm gonna go into the etymology of that word. So Isaiah 45 and 17, you can read it for yourself right here. It says Isaiah 45 and 17, but Israel shall be saved in the Lord with everlasting salvation, shall not be ashamed nor confounded, world without end. So within the Bible, it tells you this people, this nation is a world of its own. Now, the word, the English is not good language. English is not a very good language for making distinctions. It's much like the people that rule it. It's very confusing. Because when you go into Greek, and when this Bible was written within the Greek, you find out that when you was reading John 3:16, it was a different word for world than when it was talking about everywhere. I believe within the book of I forget the exact scripture, but basically there was a particular, and it's in the Bible, there was a particular Caesar that had written to the whole world, okay, that everybody should be taxed, and the word there is realm. But is it?
Render unto thee.
No, it's not that, but pretty much that's a different word for world than you have out here within the book of John 3:16. That is to say, you have a Greek word called oikomene, okay, which means everything, and then cosmos, which means a sector. And what do you think is within the book of John 3:16? A sector, a group of people. Okay, now that's breaking down John 3:16. Now the next question, your next logical question, is to say, oh, hold on a minute, who are the Gentiles then? Because we all been in churches, right? You read about the Gentiles having mercy. I ask you, who are the Gentiles?
Well, we are, because none of us are Jewish.
Nope, that's not correct. That's not what the word Gentile was talking about.
All right, well, people who aren't Israelites.
Nope. I've just showed you through the scriptures that only Israel could be made. Now make it work for your own head. Explain it within your own self. Okay, how is it that Israel can make, only the Israelites can make it, and you still have Gentiles? Make it work. It's very easy.
Those who follow onto it?
Nope.
I don't know.
Okay, what happened within the history? When you had the Assyrians coming and you had it to where the northern kingdom was taken away, okay, they was Gentiles after that. You see what I'm saying? They became Gentiles. They were still Israelites, but they became Gentiles. Does that make sense? That's how you make it work. It's not